If we talk about control from the perspective of organizational behavior, we might get a bad rap for that. We cannot really say that an organization wants to control the behavior of its employees. That doesn't sound very right. But the reality is that organizations do want to control the behavior of their employees for as long as they're within the organization, for as long as they're working. Organizations do want to control the behavior of employees while they are working. So that is a fact because companies believe that employees are being paid for by the companies, and the time employees commit to working for the companies is what the company pays them for. So they also believe that, therefore, the behavior of the employees needs to be supervised and monitored and controlled, in the sense that an organization cannot have an employee behave whichever way he or she wants while they are at work. So the need for control from an organization on the behavior of an employee has been ascertained. We look at how organizations control employee behavior. There are primarily three ways in which organizations deploy control to make sure that employees behave in a way that's conducive to the goals of the organization. And if you are in a factory and you're producing goods, you want your employees to behave in a way that makes sure that you get high quality goods from your factory. That's the kind of behavior that an organization wants to control. It's not the behavior that comes to mind when we use the word behavior. It's the behavior that is related to the work the employee is supposed to do in an organization. So there are three ways in which employee behavior is controlled by an organization. The first way is direct supervision, and direct supervision is relevant especially in factories and in settings primarily where the employee needs to be at a physical location to perform the work. So you are at a factory, there is a factory floor, and you want to make sure that employees in the factory are doing work correctly and demonstrating the right behavior, the behavior that's important for productivity, quality, safety. So the solution to that is clearly direct supervision. You will see that in factories there are supervisors who are on the floor watching employees do their work, providing feedback, and taking the work forward. The work bay moves forward under the supervision of the supervisors. So that's number one. When employees need to be physically present, supervision is how organizations exert control on employee behavior. Number two is processes and systems. Now, there are situations these days where an employee working for an organization is not always required to be physically present in the organization. Right? They might be working from their homes, as they are mostly these days. They might be working from a location where there is an office, but that's not the office they're reporting to. You might have an office in London, but your employee might be based out of India, and the employee might be reporting to the London office. So what happens there is that direct supervision is not possible. The supervising manager is not in the same location as the employee, so direct supervision is not possible. And the nature of the work that the employees do have become so complex that you cannot really directly supervise an employee. Most of us are working on laptops, working on computers, and most of the work that we do happens inside the computer. Direct supervision is impossible in a setting like that. So the solution organizations have in such situations is processes and systems. There are processes, right? If you have to perform a certain task, you might need certain approvals. If you want to spend certain budgets, you might need certain approvals, right? So if you want to perform certain activities, there might be certain controls and systems placed on your computer in softwares that you will have to clear in order to perform certain activities. So there are systems and processes placed inside the organization, both online and offline, that governs employee behavior, that controls the behavior of the employees. And number three, this is slightly more nuanced, and this is a topic that's very interesting, and this can be a video in itself. This is a topic in itself. The third way in which organizations control the behavior of employees is through culture. Right? So culture is a form of control. Very often when we talk about organizational culture, we talk about employee well-being, we talk about learning opportunities, we talk about how companies treat employees. Why is culture required to be a control mechanism? Why can't we work with direct supervision in some cases and process and systems in some cases? The answer to that is that the behavior of employees in certain fields of work, certain domains and certain activities cannot be controlled, cannot be governed through just direct supervision and systems and processes, because that might just be the nature of the work that they do. If you have researchers, for example, if you have people that go out into the field and do some kind of a field work, it's very difficult sometimes to perform direct supervision. In some cases, it's very difficult to even use processes and systems to control employee behavior. A journalist, for example, brings in news from different sources and sends it to the editor. The behavior of the journalist, the work ethic of the behavior of the journalist is very difficult to be controlled through systems and processes. It's impossible to control the behavior of a journalist through direct supervision. You cannot have a supervisor traveling with the employee all the time. So For certain types of work where direct supervision and processes and systems are inadequate to govern employee behavior, organizations deploy culture, which means organizations create a culture in which accountability is part of the employee behavior, where ownership is part of the employee behavior. The employee, is motivated to always do the right thing, that ensures the best outcome for the organization. So that's what it is. Culture is also a form of control. So broadly, these are the three types of controls that organizations deploy to control the behavior of the employees.